Hello and welcome back to What the Frick podcast. Today's episode will be dedicated to my time in Switzerland. If you have not been following along, I am doing mini episodes dedicated to each European country that I visited on my 20-day trip to Europe this past month. So go back and check those out if you have not already listened. And if you have, then welcome to the Switzerland episode. So the first thing we did when traveling to Switzerland was obviously we landed in Zurich, which is one of the more city-like places in Madrid. And I think I picked here because, again, I wanted to fly places where it was all direct flights and just very easy to get to. I've also been to Switzerland twice before, so I had a good idea of what to expect. So again, I am still with my mom. She came with me to both Madrid and to Zurich, so very happy to have her experience these very two different countries with me. First thing we did after checking into our hotel was we were hungry, so we went and got some food. My mom really wanted to try the famous fondue, so we went and found like a local Switzerland type Swiss food, it's better say it, restaurant, and we got some cheese fondue. So that was fun. I don't know how people eat that all the time because it is just a lot. It's very like a delicacy, but it was fun to get at least one time. One thing that I knew it was happening, but I didn't really think about it, was Zurich was putting on this giant festival that happens once every 3 years, and it got pushed back a year because of COVID. And I'm going to say it wrong, I already know it, so apologies. It's called like Zurich Fast, like F-A-S-C-H-T. And it's just this giant festival that they have in Zurich, and it's very popular, I guess like 2 million or billion, I forget, probably million. It's like a giant carnival, honestly. Like there's just food trucks lining the streets. There's like boat races. There's like this little like water competition where people get on like what's it called when you like not waterboard, that's like a criminal offense. When you stand on a board and like something pulls you, whatever that's called, I'm forgetting the exact terminology. People were like almost like surfing, standing on like boards and having this rope pull them, and they would like do flips and tricks, and you could like watch from the side. And then there were just like all these carnival rides and people everywhere. And then at night, music, I guess, just going until like very late in the morning of people like dancing and clubbing in the streets. So I knew this was happening when I booked it. Well, actually after I booked it, I was like, oh, this is happening, like this is super cool. It's like only happens once every 3 years, like it'll be cool to see. I was very wrong about this because I realized that I enjoy Switzerland when it's in its normal, quaint, nice form. But trying to walk around this beautiful city when there's 2 million people everywhere and everyone's like drunk just sort of diluted its image. And when I say drunk, I mean people were literally holding like full bottles of vodka and just like chugging it in the streets. And it was quite a sight to see. But like the restaurants were super full, like you couldn't sit outside because like the music was so loud. So I was not really enjoying that. The only thing I really did like was being able to like get a drink and then like sit on the water while watching the like water competition of the people flipping on the boards. That was really cool and I enjoyed that. But other than that, I did not really love the amount of people that were there. I learned that Switzerland is an open carry in terms of alcohol all year round, so you can just constantly be drinking like that. It wasn't like just a thing for the festival. I was joking that could never happen in the States because it's obviously legal in Las Vegas, and that's like a crazy place to be So I can only imagine if it was like that everywhere in the States. But anyways, so Switzerland happens, and I sort of decided with my mom, like, I don't want to be here during this festival. It's too much. So it was only like a weekend. So on the last day of the festival, we booked a day trip to actually get out of Zurich, so that our last day in Zurich would be spent with like the normal Switzerland culture. So the other cool thing about this festival was the fireworks show. So my mom and I found this cool rooftop bar, and we sat there for a while just like drinking and like taking in the views. We didn't watch the fireworks from there because it wasn't pointing in the right direction, but that was like a nice little thing we did to just sort of get away from the festival. And like I said, the next day we did book a day trip because I just like could not handle being around 2 million people like sweating and shirtless and just like drinking handles of vodka. And I was planning on doing this day trip regardless. I didn't know what day yet, but I was like, let's do it during the festival so we don't have to deal with this anymore. So we booked a day trip to what is called Mount Titlis, a beautiful mountain. It's located in Engelberg. I think I'm saying that right. There's another very famous one called Mount Pilatus, but we had done that a few years prior, so wanted to get something new on the books. So we found a fun day trip that took us through Lucerne. So we did like a little pit stop in Lucerne, got to walk around there for an hour. Very, very scenic journey too, just driving through Switzerland. Pretty much anywhere you go, it's going to be beautiful. And then we get to Mount Titlis, and it was what I expected it to be. You take a gondola ride up into the mountain, which is pretty much what you're paying for, like the ticket up the mountain. And then once you got up there, it's like covered in snow, and you do a cliff walk, which is a cliff walk, what it sounds like. You're on a cliff, which is like a suspension bridge that kind of moves back and forth with the wind. I think these are very cool. I've done another one before when I was in Switzerland another time, and I really enjoyed it. My mom, though, had a lot of stress on this cliff walk because the bridge wasn't like still, like it would move as you walked on it. She was kind of freaked out by the thought of that. I found it very cool, though, and I knew it was very safe, but she didn't love that. And then you could also go on like a ski lift that just like took you on so you could like see the views. And there was also a glacier cave you could walk through, but we didn't do that because I don't know how people can do it, because it's literally like walking on ice. It'd be very easy to fall and hurt yourself. But it was a very cool experience, and we got to just like be on this really beautiful mountain and see all these really cool panoramic views. So a very good day trip, well spent. Luckily, when we got back to Zurich, it was the Sunday that was like the end of the festival, so there were still a couple of activities going on, but things were starting to like tear down, and I'm like, thank God. So like the people that were leaving, and it was returning back to normal, which is exactly what I wanted. So we just kind of walked around, took it in, knowing that the next day would be our last day there. So on our final day together in Switzerland, we went to the Lindt Museum, which is the famous chocolate museum named after, the famous company Lindt. So that was actually very cool because we were trying to get tickets to this, but online it said sold out, and you can also not just walk in and buy a ticket. Like, you had to buy it online. And that was kind of upsetting because we both really wanted to do this, especially my mom. But online it did say, like, hey, if you just want to come and, like, go to the cafe, like, you can do that. So we were like, well, we have nothing else to do. Like, let's go do this. And we luckily just tried to buy a ticket to see what would happen. And they were like, oh, yeah, just wait an hour and you can go in. We were like, oh, my God, amazing. So the website's a total lie, basically. So we just waited an hour, and then we went in. It was really cool because they like showed you the history of chocolate. My favorite part was the chocolate taste testing, and then at the very end they gave you a bunch of free samples of Lindt chocolate. So I consider that to be a stellar day. We just kind of walked around after that. The factory was located a little bit on the outskirts of Zurich, so we took a train to get there, and then we were trying to figure out how we should get back, and we kept seeing all these boats because Zurich is located on Lake Zurich, and we kept thinking like there's got to be like boats you can rent, and you can like charter a boat for like thousands of dollars. And I'm like, how is there not some sort of like taxi service? Well, there was. We just didn't know about it. So we see these giant taxi looking boats that are just ferries basically. And we're trying to figure out how they work. And we happened to stumble upon one of the stops on the taxi ferry service. And the guy's like, are you guys coming on? And we're like, okay, sure. Like, we have no idea where this ferry is going. We'll just like figure it out. Like, we really wanted to find a way to get on the water because it's just so beautiful. Like, the lake is in the middle. It's not that wide. So you can see on both sides, like, all the houses and all the buildings. It's really gorgeous. So we rode the ferry from that stop back into Zurich. It was like a really quick, like, 15-minute ride. But it was just cool to actually be in the water and see it. And I ended up asking the ferry guy, like, how does this work? Like, can you just like ride the ferry multiple times if you like want to? And he's like, oh, we actually do like cruises. They're called like short lake or long lake cruises, and you can actually like pay and just ride the ferry like around Zurich. And I was like, are you serious? Like, that would have been so good to know, because like me and my mom would have done that and we would have had like a really good time. And I felt bad because she was leaving the next day and I had one extra day in Zurich. So I was like, well, I'll do that by myself tomorrow. But I just felt bad that she didn't get to do that, and we could have done that together. But at least we experienced it a little bit. So that night we sort of just, we were tired. We did do like the touristy thing of going to Lindenhof, which is this lookout point. You climb up all these stairs, so many stairs in Europe, I can't get over it. And you can just sort of like sit in this park and you like look out from like a higher viewpoint on Zurich. It's really beautiful. And then we found this cute restaurant near our hotel that was Italian tapas basically, and we loved it there. I went back twice. Super cute, well priced, and it was just adorable. We loved it there. They had great tiramisu. I will never forget about that tiramisu. And then it was her last night. So we just walked around during sunset, and then we honestly just like headed back into the room. And then the next morning she left to head back to the States. It was my final day in Zurich, so I was like, I gotta make the most of it. So I knew I wanted to go on that short lake cruise, knowing how it worked now. And we also had free tickets to the zoo that the hotel provided if we wanted to go. So I was like, well, it's not that far away and it's free. And I had heard really good things about the zoo, so I got up, got some food, and then I went to the zoo. And it actually was not that great of a time. I'm not sure if it's just because like I didn't see many animals. Like, I would pass by exhibits and there would be like no animals there. It was also really hot, like 95 degrees, and it was humid. And I'm just like not used to the humidity. I actually feel like Switzerland was the hottest place I visited, which is weird to say. It's usually a pretty cool place in terms of weather. But it was so hot. So I go to the zoo for like an hour. So again, it was free, very easy to get to, so whatever. I come back, I go back to that same Italian restaurant to just eat something good. And then I headed out for my little boat ride. And it only cost me 8 francs, which I think is like $10 around there. And I got to just ride on the cruise for an hour and a half. I got myself a little Aperol Spritz and just sat, I did make friends with some other people and just sort of talked to them while I was on the boat. It was really hot though. On my way like out into Zurich, I was in the sun, and then on the way back, I was in the shade. I can't even begin to tell you how much I was sweating. I had so much sunscreen on, but I was like, I just want to sit on the edge and actually experience like the views where you could sit inside the boat and be like more in the air conditioning, but I didn't want that. I wanted to like fully experience the boat, you know? So now I was like, I'm from Arizona. I can handle this. Like, I cannot be a wimp about this. So as soon as I got back to the port, I was like, I'm going home. I'm going to take a shower. I was like a puddle of sweat. So I walked back, took a shower, packed my bags, because I knew that once it hits like 8 o'clock, the sun's going down. It's a lot easier to walk around without the sun. So I did that, and funny enough, I actually went back out and it was still super hot. I think it was like one of the hottest days in Switzerland that day. So kind of glad my mom didn't have to experience that, because it was painful. But I couldn't just, spend my last night in Switzerland in the hotel. So I walked around the boardwalk area and just where like all the water and the people are. I went to that lookout point one more time. And then I was like, okay, I'm just going to head back. I wanted to get takeout from that same restaurant. So I wanted that tiramisu again. But they said that they don't do takeout. And I was like, that's weird. I was like, you know what? I'm so hot. I don't want to sit in this restaurant that doesn't have air conditioning. I want to just go upstairs, take another shower, sit in my hotel room, in my bed, and watch the Kardashians. So I ended up getting some takeout from this little restaurant right by my hotel. It was actually very, very good. Took my other shower, got in bed, watched the Kardashians like the good American I am, and just relaxed. I kind of learned it was good to take a minute and relax so that I don't have another freak out. And just knowing I had one more country was like, I was like, okay, I'm doing this. It's all going to be good. Like, I made it through Switzerland. I have one more country to get through. I want to really enjoy my time, so I want to make sure that I get my rest in. But yeah, Switzerland was gorgeous. I would love to go back there for like a few weeks with like a group of people and like drive around the entirety of it, because it's so beautiful and there's so much to do and so much to see. It's just so expensive there. Like, the drinks are expensive. I saw a Caesar salad that was $25, and I was like, what? Like, it's just very expensive. The hotel was very expensive. Like, it's an expensive country to visit, and I mean, they have every right with how beautiful it is there, but I think going there by myself would have been expensive. So I'm glad my mom came with me to at least help out with like the hotel costs, and just like being able to like split things and figure out like stuff like that was nice, because I feel like I probably would have done less activities knowing like, oh my god, like it's so expensive. But having my mom there, I was like, well, I want to do these fun activities, I want to do these things with someone, so it made it more enjoyable to spend that money, if that makes sense. But going back with a big group of people and just like renting an Airbnb or something like in a small town on the water, I think would be so fun. So that's like on my bucket list to do one day. But that is my little podcast of Zurich in Switzerland. We've got one more left. It'll be about Ireland, which is going to probably be the longest. I have a lot to say. And just do like a quick little wrap up as well of the entire trip. So next episode will have a little bit more depth to it. So I'm looking forward to recording that for you guys. Again, thank you so much for listening to my travels and just being a part of it. Again, it's so fun to relive it and just look at my pictures and be like, oh yeah, that happened. I gotta put that in the podcast. So thank you guys so much, and I will be with you guys next week for the Ireland episode. All right, bye.